What if it all doesn't work out? What's up, hustlers? Man, I think this week I have to jump in and talk about a continuation of last week and bring in some references from a mentee that I'm working with that you guys are actually going to get to see this session because she recorded it, not knowing she wasn't in the video. But I was like, give it to me and I'll upload it because normally I do these pods on my past channel just because I get more people coming on live and interacting at the moment. But I talk through these pod versions of like just what's going on and different things. But this is a good chance to see what like a clarity session would look like with me when I'm working on businesses, because we're trying to organize what she does and a good little portion of it she filmed. So I'm going to actually upload that for you guys to watch if that's something that you're interested in. But in this conversation, it's like, I don't find myself normally in this mindset, right? Where I don't think what I'm trying to do is going to work out. I may not know how I'm going to do it. I may need some extra resources. However, one of the things that I believe is that your plan should be so good that it never changes. Like where you're trying to get to never changes. Having money just speeds up the process. So that's what I want to talk about today. And where do I just trying to think about where I want to start with this conversation. So let's take this Print Shop Institute Northeast Creative Hub that I'm working on right now and say, okay, I'm trying to work on this big project. This big project is going to cost, let's just call it $250,000 for me to pull off, right? For me to get it into position to where I want it to go. Meaning I have to go out and raise $250,000 if I want this thing to go perfect. $250,000 to $300,000 in 6 months. We can launch this thing by September is where I currently feel right now. I need to be able to provide a service in order to raise the money. This isn't like some charity case. I have to deliver upon the marketing, the presentation, the type of things once this project is going. What I'm promising or what I'm selling isn't like, hey, give me money as a charity. It's like, hey, let's build this training center that could help all of us with our products. We can get content out of here. We can bring people here to train people. We can create community here and we can grow people's businesses here. We can get a lot of people in, and there's a lot of different ways that companies could benefit from this place. And so this is what I'm going back to. It's like an extension of marketing. It could be used in a lot of different ways depending on the company's need. Not every company is small. I actually had conversation with the biggest company in the industry who they don't need marketing help, right? However, they could use some humanization and some boots on the ground in a place like this to add to their offering to their customers, right? And so what if it doesn't work out? Like, what happens if I don't close or pitch enough and get enough closes to actually get the funding that I need, meaning i.e. I don't find enough sponsors for this build out. All right. Now, one of the things that I'm going to tell you guys too is I threw a one-day event in the past. I may have raised $30,000 between a bunch of companies or whatever the case is, $5,000 a piece. So this is like, that was my first shot at it. And the way it was supposed to go, it didn't go. I had to adjust and I had to go find companies that would sponsor it because the original set that the company that I partner with, it didn't work out. So I had to go back and do my own thing to be able to put this event on. And I did it successfully, right? And it's like my way of doing it is being super transparent. Here's what it's going to cost us. If we do $5,000 a piece, whatever, it's going to be a great event, $5,000 a piece. It's a little bit to everybody versus somebody paying $30,000 or $10,000 up front or whatever the case is. Here's what I give you at each level of sponsorship for being involved. And I was able to go out and raise this money. This is no different to me than that situation. Okay. But there is a chance that it doesn't, like I don't raise enough, right? So the first thing that I want to do is I want to include the endless amounts of possibilities into the cost of what I'm doing. So when I create this plan, I'm creating it for the top tier level plan. Okay. Now, if I'm not able, if I raise all the money that I need and we good to go, then we just go build that thing. However, if I only raise, let's say $100,000 to do it, I'm going to still take my plan and I'm just going to attack it in pieces of importance based on what I'm trying to do. What does that mean? Well, if I don't raise enough money initially to build out this training center, I still need to build the training center. The training center is the most important piece. And just because someone wasn't in on the idea at the very, very beginning, if I build it correctly, people want to be a part of it later still. So I always want to, again, keep in mind that the plan is the plan. If I can knock out the park and get everything perfect the way I wanted it to be at the very, very beginning with all the funding, beautiful, no problem. However, if I'm not able to do that, then I adjust my plan to still, okay, I can't get all the way here. So what is the order that this should be done in? Okay, I'm still going to build the training center. The training center is going to cost me, I don't know, let's say that's $75,000, right? It's going to be floors, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. We're just going to start with this phase of the project, get that done, get equipment in there, get things rolling, and then we'll worry about the content studio, the podcast studio. We'll worry about that later. However, I'm also understanding that I need to have revenue models inside of this because I am not the type of person who wants to go back and yes, I want to keep continuing to provide service on top of what I'm doing because we have this place, but I don't want to come back and say, hey, I need you to fund this again another year, another year, another year. No, I want to provide a service. So I don't want to have to keep going back. So I need to build in revenue streams into this, which means we have the transfers, that is a revenue stream. We have the actual space, which will be a revenue stream. We want to add fulfillment as a revenue stream. We're going to add printed goods as a revenue stream. We want to add the studio as a revenue stream. And we want to have these different things in place where we're also able to train you on the equipment and sell it and get a commission on top of the sales as a distributor of the product. So that way we can both have vested interest in your equipment being there. And I don't have to come back to you down the line and ask for more money because what I'm doing is driving sales, which is bringing you money. And in turn, all of those sales, that some of those funds are going back, not into my pockets, but are going back into the ecosystem of the building. I set a big goal to have 10,000 people come through this space by the end of next year. Well, how am I going to get that done? I need to have little small wins along the way. You know, I need to have small events a lot, meaning I need to pull different people into this place. So the most important thing that I'm going to do is get the main training center done first so that we can invite people into the space and we can start the process. And then as we make money, as we do some things or we get new partners, we'll continue to build on top of what it is that I do. Now, I want to draw a reference to like this imposter syndrome that some of us may face in this process. It's like, hey, I didn't go to school for this. I'm not qualified for this. Well, look, guys, I did not go to school for marketing. My degree is in computer science. I did eventually take a minor in graphic design, but the art teacher that was teaching graphic design basically told me I didn't have to come to class. And the reason I didn't have to come to class was simply because I was far, far more advanced in my own self-seeking knowledge of graphic design and flyer design. I was already selling business cards and banners and doing photography. I was already doing all this stuff. I picked up the minor because I had to stay an extra 2 years in school to play football, right? I Division II, you could take a year off and play a year. I had got hurt at the first school I was at. I played the game to play football as long as I possibly could, basically. So I picked up a minor in the process of finishing out school. You do not have to be some super Harvard educated college degree person, right? If you have working or lived experience in a place, don't focus about today, currently, about I'm going to be the best psychologist in my industry or whatever the case is. Just focus on helping the person that you once were. So to give you a scenario, it's like my mentee wants to help people, wants to make wellness less heavy. And she feels like wellness is heavy. It's so much you got to think about and do. And I'm like, well, create the space where wellness is not heavy. All you have to do is think about where you were before clarity. What things are important to you now? And where were you before? What were the struggles before? How was life before? And how I can move you along in this process. The plan, and I want to relate this back to the plan. The plan, the understanding for what you're trying to do has to be so good that the only thing that could get it all done faster is if you had money, right? Meaning I'm going to substitute money. I'm just going to keep putting my time into this thing. And it may take me a year. Like if I get absolutely no funding, that doesn't mean I can't go build this building. That means I need to sell a shit ton of transfers, get a shit ton of shirts printed out of that building so we can start to generate the revenue to slowly make the investment into the building the way we want to. That's the slowest way possible. However, it will work for us because I believe we can sell the amount of transfers and shirts out of this building under the model that we want to build with this building. Now, if we can figure out how to get nonprofit and government funding and all of these different ways to make this all happen and speeds up and adds to the process, then by all means, I would love to do that and make this a lot better than what I even dreamed it can be. However, we just have to be realistic. We just have to understand that at the end of this entire thing, we got to be out to solve a big problem, a big mission in our journey for entrepreneurship, right? We got to understand how this pocket or this product ties into the bigger picture. And when I upload this live session, I don't know what part she got, but you're going to get to see how we take what she's doing now and we break it up and try to look at where everything fits and how we can be as clear to our customers as possible. If you don't tell people what it is that you do and how you're doing it and all of that kind of stuff, the world is going to assume what they want about you. So the best thing that you can do is be crystal clear about what it is that you're trying to accomplish so that you can tell that to people so that you can find the resources, the help, the whatever it is that you need along the way. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you wonder who the hell I am and why the hell I'm talking, I'm your boy, Seven Figure Stan. And when business owners get stuck, they call me. I help them get unstuck and add the next zero to their revenue column. Remember, everybody needs a stand. Did I say revenue or revenue? Revenue. Peace.